Carla, and welcome back to the studio. And thank you for joining me for another episode of Throwback Thursday. So, this week is kind of like a busy, crazy week, and I'm actually getting this done on time. I will not tell you what time it is the night before it's supposed to post, but yeah, a lot of things that need to get done, and this is another thing to check off the list. So, everything, I already have everything done and prepped and ready to go for Saturday night. So, if you follow me or if you're new to my channel, I typically go live every Friday night at 6 p.m. Central Time. And this particular Friday, like tomorrow, I will not be doing a live. I will be doing a live on Saturday, the 25th at 6 p.m. Central. A friend's in town, and she was a guest stamper basically about a year ago, almost to the day, and she was my guest stamper, and she created the three projects that I had put together. And so I had literally just got done putting together all the projects for this coming Saturday. So really cute projects. I'm going to be featuring the Scalloped Wishes bundle. This is a current bundle that is part of our online exclusives offering. And so, yeah, that's going to be on Saturday. So, in the meantime, let's get our Throwback Thursday video put out here and scheduled so that way it posts at 5 a.m. Central right here on my channel. So, bear with me for a second. I just want to make sure that I have everything kind of leveled here. Everything looks kind of good. So, we'll put this aside and okay. So for this Throwback Thursday, I am going to be using a standalone stamp set. This is a $1 million Achiever stamp set. So this one was designed by Jackie Williams. She's in New Zealand. And a really bad thing that I'm going to admit is that creating the projects that I am doing for this video was the first time that this stamp set saw any ink. And you can always tell by if you have like the labels all on there, then yeah, that meant that you didn't use the stamp set. So this is actually the first time I was using the stamp set. So in this set, you got a couple of mixed font greetings on it. Thinking of you, collect beautiful moments, and you're somebody's blessing. A lot of like kind of like your sketchy type of images, not sketchy like on the wrong side of town, but images that you can color in. So that's what we're going to be doing with this particular stamp set. So I'm actually going to be using two different mediums in doing my coloring. One of them I'm going to be using our watercolor pencils. And then for the other one, I'm going to be doing some ink blending using my blending brushes and then also do some coloring with my Stampin' Blends. So let me bring in the pieces for my first card. So this, I kind of saw something on Pinterest that kind of, when I was looking for ideas, that the designer had done that I thought was really cool, but I decided to kind of step it up a little bit. So for my cardstock pieces, I have a piece of basic white that measures 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. And give me 1 second here because I need to open up my 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 yeah, what am I trying to say here? The stuff that I put into my description that has all the dimensionals and things like that on it, I don't have it sitting right next to me, so I need to open this up so I could see what I am doing. And let me close out that. Don't need to see that. All right. So basic white thick is my card base, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a piece of gorgeous grape that measures 5 3/8 by 4 1/8, and then a piece of crumb cake that measures 5 1/4 by 4. So on my piece of crumb cake, I'm going to set these aside. On my piece of crumb cake, I'm going to pull out this stamp right here, the one with the woman walking in a field of flowers, and pull that out. And then I want the greeting that says, thinking of you. So this stamp set is a red rubber set. So yeah, you can't see through. Let me take this. Whoops, I'm dropping things. Sorry about that. That was probably really loud. So on this, I do not have my stickers on here. So I want to look at this and kind of have it on there straight. So when I go to stamp this, I'm going to be looking at the bottom edge of my block rather than the stamp itself. So make sure that's on there. I'm going to bring in my Memento Tuxedo Black ink. This is one of our white uninked stamp pads that I had used the Memento reinker to put it on the pad. I find that it stamps so much better than the actual Memento felt pad. All right, so now I'm going to take this and kind of have this straight. Again, I'm looking at the bottom edge of my block to the cardstock itself. And I want to press. I want to make sure that I get good contact from the stamp to the cardstock. Okay, I think we're good. There we go. And then I'm going to set that aside. I do want this to dry before I do any coloring on it. So let me move that. And then my greeting piece, I'm going to stamp that in a color. It was one of my colors that I really, really liked, and I was very sad when it went away, and that is Bermuda Bay. So I'm going to take my greeting that says thinking of you, and I'm going to do the same thing with this. I'm going to basically look at the bottom edge of my block, and okay, and then I'm going to ink this up. It's been a while since I used this color. I do want to make sure that it's inked up good. All right. And then I'm going to stamp this down here in the bottom right hand corner. Okay, not bad. Not bad. Let me close up my ink pad. And I'm going to clean my stamps really quick. Again, giving this time to dry because I don't want the ink to end up smearing when I color over with my pencils. Now, I'm not doing any watercoloring with them. I'm just basically going to be coloring my pencils, and then in the end, on her dress, I'm going to kind of smooth it out with Wink Estella. So bear with me for 1 second. I don't know if it's just the fact that it's late at night. I really should be in bed, but I need to drink some water. My throat started getting a little scratchy. Okay, so pencils. Now, in the description, in the list of supplies, I have it listed for the original watercolor pencils, which have since retired. And then right now we have a watercolor collection 1 and collection 2. So I'm thinking that Bermuda Bay, I'm going to be using that color, was in probably the original one. So, yeah, so I listed all three of them. I have a whole bunch of the watercolor pencils. So, yeah, I just don't know what the item number would have been for it at the time when it was out. And what I'm going to do is, before I start coloring, I'm going to use, this is a Prismacolor pencil sharpener. I got this probably from Hobby Lobby, and it works really well on sharpening the pencils. And since I colored earlier, when I designed these earlier in the week, I didn't think to sharpen them after the fact. It's interesting when you look at the color at the end of the pencils. This one's Coastal Cabana and that one's Bermuda Bay. Okay, so we got that. That. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm going to start with, let's see, my white pencil. So what I want to do here is I'm going to color most of her in white. So the hair, going to color that in, the dress. I'm just laying the white down. So then when I'm going to come in and I'm going to color over this with some color. So the samples that I saw, these were stamped in black ink on, excuse me, on the Crumb Cake cardstock. And then the whole thing was colored in just using the white pencil. And then we got all these stems and leaves. I'm not really doing a whole lot of thinking of what I'm doing here. And do these flowers. We're going to go over these flowers with Gorgeous Grape. So I'm just doing really quick. Okay, so then for the hair, I'm going to bring in Early Espresso. Just makes the color a little bit lighter and brighter by having that white underneath. Okay, and then on the dress, I'm going to put down, let's see, Coastal Cabana. So I'm going to do the whole dress in Coastal Cabana. And then I'll come in with the Bermuda Bay to do some shadows. Now with our watercolor pencils, we don't have any that's a skin tone, so I'm not going to color. I'm just going to leave her arms as is. Now, if you were to take water to this, you would have to use it very, very, very sparingly, because this isn't watercolor paper, and it won't take much to, if you put water on your regular cardstock, it won't take much for it to start pilling up the paper. So, but what I'm going to do afterwards, I'm going to use my Wink of Stella, and the Wink of Stella will kind of do the same thing. Okay, then I'm going to take my Bermuda Bay and some of these areas where I want to put some shadow, and I apologize for the the video shaking. I have my phone in a stand that's connected, well, not connected, but attached to this table. I got to figure out some other way to kind of set it up where I don't have that. Okay. All right. So that looks good. All right, and then I'm going to bring in my, this is Garden Green. And I'm going to come in and do these stems and kind of like this grass that's down here. I'm just kind of filling it in a little bit, like so. And then I'm going to take my gorgeous grape, and then these little flowers here, I'm going to come in. I will color these in purple and aqua. Purple's my #1 favorite color. And then the aquas and the blues are a very, very, very close second. So taking both of the colors that I really like and putting them together on the same card. So these little petals that are on here, oops. Gotta do a little bit harder with the purple on that white. Otherwise my purple looks very light. I think it looks good. Just go over in some spots again. Okay, so there we go. Then I'm going to take this piece here. I'm going to get my, what do I want? I want my liquid glue. Add some on here. Okay, and then I'm going to adhere this to my piece of gorgeous grape, and there's just this little small border of my gorgeous grape on here. Okay, so then I'm going to add a little something extra to this. So I have some, well, this says Whisper White Solid Baker's Twine. So we do sell our Baker's Twine Essentials pack. And one of the packages that I do have another one. I've already gone through all of the white. So I have so much of this, I might as well use it. Yeah, I stocked up on a lot of it when it was retiring. So yeah, I really don't need any more white twine. Okay, so I'm going to take this and I'm going to kind of wrap this around about 3 times. So on the back, after I get the tape unstuck from my finger, I'm going to, let's see, where am I going with this? Okay, I'm going to tape this down like so. Let me get my scissors, trim that a little bit. Okay, so then I'm going to wrap this around like 3 times. So I'm going to start up here and I'm going to kind of crisscross this like so, and then through the middle. Okay, bring it over, and then my tape, and I'll go over all 3 of these pieces just to kind of hold it all in place. I'm just burnishing that tape over my baker's twine, and then we can trim that. All right, so there we go. So we got a nice little decorative element on there. Let me move those. Let me fold and burnish my card base. Okay, folder. All right, and then I am going to take this piece and I'm going to actually pop this up. I'm going to, instead of just putting it straight down on the card base, I'm going to give it a little bit of dimension. So dimensionals, and then I don't want the center of this getting all saggy, so I'm going to add a little extra dimensionals on here. Okay, just press these all down. Okay, so then actually what I want to do, I'm going to bring in my piercing mat, make it a little bit easier for me to see my card base. And again, there's just this little tiny border that that's around that gorgeous grape. Now I'm going to bring in my Winka Stella, and I'm going to add it just to her dress. And what it's going to do is going to kind of blend out both the Bermuda Bay and the Coastal Cabana pencils. And again, you don't want to go over it too much. But I do want to make sure I get every spot. So the way you can tell is just kind of lift it up in the light, and you can kind of see where you missed. Okay, so, and then on your Wink Estelle, because it's watercolor pencils, all you need is a piece of scrap paper and just kind of brush that off till it's clear. And then your Wink Estelle is good to go on another project. All right, so I didn't add anything else like any other embellishments to this. I just kind of kept it really simple. So you can kind of see that shine from the Wink Estelle just blending out that Bermuda Bay and the Coastal Cabana watercolor pencils. Now again, in the description, I have 3 different sets of watercolor pencils listed. The one that does not have a collection 1 or a collection 2, those were like the original ones. So I'm pretty sure that's the package that had the Bermuda Bay pencil in it. And then, of course, the other 2, collection 1 and 2, we still have those. Those are in they have carried over, so they're active. I don't want to say annual catalog because starting next month on May 5th, we're going to be having 3 different, well, we're going to have 3 catalogs per year rather than an annual catalog and then 2 mini catalogs. And so the pencils are in there. So those catalogs are about 84 pages in size, and all the core stuff like the cardstock and the inks and things like that are going to be in that catalog. So if you are here in the US, not working with another demonstrator, and you would like a copy of that catalog, my email is in the description. Just simply send me an email with your full name and mailing address, and I'd be more than happy to get one sent out to you. So we have those 3 catalogs, and then we also have online exclusive items as well. All right, so back to our cards. So now for our second card, we're going to be doing some ink blending, and we're also going to be doing some coloring with our blends. And by the colors, you can see that our card's going to look very, very like beachy like, and I love the beach. I actually love the beach when it's after hours and it's quiet and peaceful and it's much cooler out. And but yeah, here in Tennessee we don't have the ocean, so yeah, so kind of miss Long Island. That's where I grew up, and we had the ocean, and I just loved always going down there just to hear the waves crash and all that. All right, so for this one, we're going to kind of build our scene. So we have this piece, um, got our 2 little girls that are collecting like seashells. We got a greeting that says collect beautiful moments. And then we have a stamp that has some seagulls on it. And that's all we need out of this one. So again, I need to put my stamps on here like so. And let's see, the greeting especially, we gotta, whoops, I am like dropping everything. All right. Collect beautiful moments. So I'll try and get that on there straight. Okay. And then the other way you can do this too, if you have a stamp positioner, that works as well. All right, so I'll make sure I kind of get them kind of straight. Okay, and then we got our little birds here. Make sure we got our birds in the right direction. Okay. So let me move those out of the way. I'm going to take my card base. Let me tell you what colors I'm using. So my card base is Sahara sand, 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I'm going to fold and burnish that. Okay, I'll set that aside. Then I have a piece of Seaside spray cardstock. This measures 5.25 by 4. So this was another color that I really, 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 really liked. We have a new color that's coming out called Hydrangea Hue. It's part of the new set of ink colors that are coming out in our May through August catalog. Um, yeah, I gotta compare the colors. I think this Seaside spray is a little bit lighter than that color, but it's a nice, pretty, like periwinkle type color. All right, so I'm gonna bring in, where's that paper that I had? Use as my scrap paper. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to kind of like stamp kind of like my ground area, because this is going to be the image that's going to separate what's going to be the sand and then what's going to be kind of like the sky. So for that, I'm going to stamp that in hold on, crumb cake. Yeah, I think it's crumb cake. It looks like it. Okay. All right. So I have Seaside spray, crumb cake, and Sahara sand. And then I have my Memento Tuxedo black ink that I'm going to use for stamping my girls and also my greeting. All right. So crumb cake. Let's see how well I can do this when I'm really tired. We'll see how well we can do this. All right, so I'm gonna ink this up and just to be kind of straight. So I'm gonna stamp that down, ink it up again, and kind of connect it a little bit so it looks pretty much connected, so that's good. Then I'm gonna let that dry for a second, and we're gonna use this again because I'm going to stamp my seagulls in crumb cake. However, what I want to do is I want to do my ink blending first, and then I'll add it. So Sahara sand. Okay, and then I have a blending brush. Now, when I go to ink this, I want to do a very, very, very light touch. I don't want nothing like really like dark like that. So I'm going to really, with a soft touch, I'm going to add my sand. Okay, so that's good as far as our sand goes. All right, let me put that aside and we'll close this up. Okay, and then I'm going to take my Seaside spray and we're going to do our sky. So what I want to do is I'm going to flip this over to this side because I don't want to pick up any of that Sahara sand. Okay, so we got some on there, and now I'm doing my ink blending first before I do any of my stamping, because if I take the brush over that black ink, I don't want to, smear that black ink. So I'm doing, now when you do your ink blending, if you do it light enough, then when you stamp the images that you're going to color, you're really not going to see that color at all. So in this case, you wouldn't have to do any masking. Stamp your image first and then create a mask of that image, put it over that, and then ink blend over it. Okay. A little bit more up here. Okay, so that looks pretty good. So it's faint, it's nothing, really out there, like in your face. It's not very, get a little bit more blue right there. Okay, so let me get my brushes out of the way. I'll close this up. Okay, then move this out of the way. Bring in, let's see, we'll do this. All right, let me bring in my girls. Okay. And then I'm going to stamp them right here. Okay. Put that aside. And then here goes our greeting. All right. I'm going to stamp that right there. Okay, collect beautiful moments. Is that straight? Probably off just a tiny bit. All right, so we're done with the black. Then I'm going to get my seagulls. And I'm going to stamp those in my sky using Crumb Cake ink. All right, so I'm going to stamp up here. So I'm going to stamp them a few times. Okay. So our stamping is done. So now we're going to color. I'm going to let that dry just a little bit. And in the meantime, I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Scrub, or my chamois actually. And I'm going to clean my stamps really quick. Because you know what happens if you got stamps laying around with ink on them. There's always some kind of disaster that's about to happen, that your cardstock ends up hitting one of these stamps and then it's messed up. Okay, so those are clean. All good. Of course, I got stuff laying all over the place here. All right, so now we're going to do some coloring, and my blends are very simple, and I don't poke myself with a pencil as far as colors that I am using. So I have my light and dark Daffodil Delight. I have the ivory. Now the ivory comes, these come as a combo pack. They're not sold separately. So the ivory is bundled with bronze. Then I have my light and dark Crumb Cake, and then my light and dark Seaside spray. Okay, so I'm going to start with my light Seaside spray. I'm going to color, excuse me, I'm going to color in. I am sorry. I don't know why this always happens when I'm recording. It never fails. Sorry. Okay, so I'm going to color this bucket in with my light Seaside spray. And then her dress on this girl, I'm going to do it in the light as well. Okay. Then, let's see. I am so sorry. I don't know why it does this. I know it's very annoying too. All right, so their skin, their arms, their legs, the one girl's face. I'm using my ivory to color that, their skin. Okay. All right, so I think I got all their skin. All right, so then I'm going to take my dark, what is this, Crumb Cake. And so the shadows in their hair, I'm going to kind of do the dark first. And then I'll come in and use the light to kind of blend it all together. All right, so then on this girl's dress, I'm going to use my light Daffodil Delight. All right, and then this bucket over here. All right. Then let's see what's next. My dark Seaside spray. I'm going to kind of like add my shadows here. And then on her dress, Okay. Then I'm going to do their hair. I'm going to bring in the light crumb cake and kind of blend this. All right. I think this is a sign that I should be going to bed. That's probably what it is. It's been a very, very long day. Now I'm going to take my dark Daffodil Delight and kind of do these shadows here. All right. Then I'm going to take my light Daffodil Delight and just kind of blend this a little bit, because that dark Daffodil Delight is definitely a lot darker than the light. And then do the same thing over here for this bucket. Tell you, these Daffodil Delight blends, that the alcohol odor is yeah, it's definitely really strong. Okay, my light Seaside spray. I'm gonna blend this out a little bit. Okay, so there we go. All our coloring is done. I'm going to take this, kind of dry this a little bit, because it is that Daffodil Delight definitely does soak through. So let me kind of dry this a little bit before I glue it down. Okay. Bring in my glue. All right, so then we're going to layer this on here. Again, there's going to be a little border all the way around. I'm going to flip this over. Okay, so there's our pretty little scene. Make sure I got my card base in the right direction. And then I'm going to add some glue to the back of this, adhere it to my card base, and then this card is good to go. So this one I didn't add like any bling to it. I just kept it just kind of really simple and clean. So then let's center that like so. Flip this over. Okay. Let me close up this glue really quick. Okay, so then there is our second card. So again, if you do your ink blending really, really light, oh wait, there's actually something else I wanted to do. I wanted to bring in my light crumb cake and kind of add the shadows here from the sand. Okay, now it's done. So there we go. So if you do your ink blending really, really light, and when you stamp and color, you're not going to see any of that. You don't see any of that Sahara sand after I got done coloring it. So there is my second card. Let me bring in the first one. So I used two of the images that are in the stamp set and colored them in different ways. I used my watercolor pencils on this one and then did some ink blending and coloring with my Stampin' Blends on this one. And again, this is using the Beautiful Moments stamp set. It's a standalone stamp set. There's no dies that came with this. This is a $1 Million Achiever Sales, Million Sales Achiever stamp set. When you reach $1 million in sales with Stampin' Up, demonstrators get to sit down with the artist and they get to create a stamp set. Uh, there's a little disclaimer that's supposed to say that there's less than 1% of the demonstrators worldwide actually reach this achievement, but it's a very big achievement at that. So, again, Beautiful Moments stamp set. It is, again, because it's Throwback Thursday, it is a retired set. Yeah, so there's my projects. If you like these projects, please give the video a thumbs up. I do have a whole lot of video content out there on my channel. Um, what do you call it? YouTube has changed it. I used to see it on my homepage as to how many videos I have done. I know I have done over 300. Probably over 330 some odd videos. Each one of them are in there. There's playlists out there. Again, I will be going live tomorrow, not tomorrow, Saturday, April 25th at 6 p.m. Central Time. I will have a guest stamper who will be creating the projects. Hope that you'll be able to join us. Excuse me. When I do my lives, at the very end, I do a card giveaway where you could win one of the cards that I've made. Mailing cards, I can mail them anywhere in the world. So if you would like to be kind of part of that, we are a fun group. And yeah, so this Saturday I will have a guest stamper, and I hope that you will join us. So thank you again, everybody, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.